you wouldn't mind, we're getting ready to do the invocation, then of course the pledge and the New Mexico pledge. If you have an agenda, it is on there. If you're not, if you're a little rusty on your New Mexico pledge. But first, if you would all please stand for the invocation. Commissioner Randall is going to lead us tonight.
Pray with me, please. Dear God, I thank you for this wonderful evening and the opportunity to come together to make decisions for the city of Aztec, Lord. Pray you look over us tonight and help us to make the best decisions for our community and our town, and continue to be with us in our hearts and the decisions we make. Thanks so much for the land you've blessed us with and all the liberties we enjoy in this country and this state and the city, and continue to bless us all as well. Pray you look over those kids in our community. Summer's winding down and school's fixing to start, and pray you just continue to look over our families and bring us moisture if you see it fit, Lord, for our region. We're rather dry. Just pray you continue to look over all those in our surrounding towns and cities and help us all to come together to make the best decisions we can. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and to be a symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Okay. All right. Carla, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Snowberg.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Frye.
Here.
Commissioner Slide.
Here.
Commissioner Bethel.
Here.
Commissioner Beal.
Here.
All present.
Okay. Next is agenda approval. If there are any items that need to be removed from the agenda from tonight's meeting, now is the time to do so.
Well,
Sorry, can we pull consent item I, the contract with DOT? It has a typo in it. And we don't want to approve it as it is.
Oh,
Okay. All right. From consent, yeah, we can, when we get to that, we will pull item
I.
Item I. Okay.
And L.
I and L.
Pull it now.
And L will be pulled.
so pull.
Carla's saying pull it now.
I and L will be pulled.
Carla's saying go ahead and pull it now.
Okay. Okay. So we are going to go ahead and pull item I off of the consent agenda. Do we go ahead and pull item L at this point as well?
Do you want to discuss, do any discussion on it?
No.
Discussion, then you can pull it off.
Okay. All right. So other than pulling item I and L, are there any other items that need to be pulled from tonight's agenda? Okay. In that case, I will entertain a motion for approval of tonight's agenda.
Mayor, I move to approve this evening's agenda with the exceptions of items I and L from the consent agenda then being pulled.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All commissioners in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay. Next up is citizen recognition.
Mr. Mayor, I have no citizen recognition.
Anybody else? I do. I have one. Does anybody else have one that would like to go ahead? Okay.
I just want to recognize all the
Oh, go ahead.
citizens that showed up for National Night Out.
Yeah.
It was a great turnout, but I'm sure we'll get to that at some point.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. I do have somebody that I'd like to recognize, and I right after the election, I just happened to, it's kind of award season for high schools and things like that, and I happened to be speaking with the station commander of the Army Recruiting Office in Farmington, Sergeant First Class Tello, and he mentioned that in a city that he used to recruit in a few years back in Georgia, a small city, said it was similar to Aztec, that he, had a thing, like an agreement with the mayor, that anybody that joined the Army, and I don't know if it was, if the other recruiters did it, but anybody that joined the Army, the mayor wrote a personal letter to the individual that was joining the Army and would send it to them, as kind of as a thank you and a recognition. And I kind of stole that, from them and implemented it for our award ceremony this past spring for our high school kids that enlisted in all branches of the military. And I wanted to continue that whenever, so I happened to stop by, and Mr. Sly was literally sitting in the chair there. He had enlisted a few days before when I went to see Sergeant Tello and discuss, if anybody else had joined, etc. And Mr. Sly was there, so I invited him to come tonight and receive the letter. So first what I want to do is kind of read the letter, and then I'll, like to present it to Mr. Sly sitting right up front and center here. So it's dated today. Future Soldier Eric Sly, let me first take a moment to congratulate you on your decision to enlist into and become a part of the finest military in the world. You have made the decision to put action to words and proudly step forward to defend our nation and the freedoms that are the foundation of the United States of America. It is through the sacrifice, dedication, and bravery of men and women like yourself that our nation continues to be the shining beacon of freedom and opportunity that is still the envy of the world. You are now a member of a select club of less than 1% of Americans that heed the call of military service. And as a fellow veteran, as your city's mayor, I salute you, and you'll know what this means, and some of you out there may know what it means too, and give you a hearty hooah as you head out to start your career in the United States Army as an 11 Bravo combat infantryman. Your city commissioners thank you, your loved ones thank you, and your nations thank you. Signed, yours truly. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service.
Okay. Glasses. Okay, I think that's it for citizen recognition. Does anybody go on one more time? Okay. Next up is employee recognition, and I guess we'll start with the city manager.
I just have one, had a Facebook post, wanted to thank the Aztec Electric Department for doing some tree trimming around town, so thanks to the electric department. Job well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I have one, please.
Sure.
I just want to thank Sherry Groulet and all of Chief Heel and all of his police department for another awesome job on National Night Out. As Commissioner Randall mentioned, we had a huge turnout of citizens, and everybody that I saw was having a great time. I had the opportunity to actually work in a booth, in the Aztec booth, doing hot dogs and donuts and a little bit of everything. So I didn't get out and get to get out and mingle with the crowd as much, but I saw an awful lot of people that I might have missed because they came through to get a hot dog. So it was great, and I think everybody had a great time. And I'm telling you, I think Sherry deserves a Medal of Honor for the work that she puts into that National Night Out. She does a great job, and this was our 16th. So, and every year it just keeps growing. So thank you to all the staff, and especially the police department, and to Sherry. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I've got one quick one, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
And it's National Night Out. And, everyone did great. It was great to see the staff out there, and the bucket rides were awesome. The food was great. But my kids stayed in line for about 45 minutes to an hour to get their faces painted by Cindy Iacovetti from the community center. And it's crazy. They wanted to stay in line because it was such a good job, and it was taking forever, but it's because she does such a good job on those face paints. Like, just put a smiley face and send those kids through, but no, it's a
unicorn. I saw a unicorn, I think.
Yeah, Reese got a unicorn, and my son got a shark on. I mean, it was just a great job. So.
And she was the last one in the park. I went by about 30, and she was painting the last face.
Oh, goodness.
Man. It was a long line.
Good job, Cindy.
Thank you to Cindy.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else on that? Okay. All right. Next, let's see. I don't want to skip anything here. Okay. Sorry about that. I thought I was getting out of order. All right, folks, we're moving into the consent agenda. Items placed on the consent agenda will be voted on with one motion. If there are any items that do not meet the approval of a commissioner, that item may be pulled from further discussion under items from the consent agenda. And we've already pulled I and L, so we don't have to go through that again. So I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I would like to pull items K and M for further discussion.
Okay. Items K and M. Okay.
There's no more.
Okay. Are there any other items? Okay. With the exceptions of K and M, I would entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda with the exception of items K and M and I and L.
I
Okay.
second it. I second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Same sign? Okay. All right, so under discussion under consent agenda, we already pulled I and L, but K and M. So K is the lease agreement amendment for 550 Brewing LLC. It's open for discussion.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to check. And the only question I had was, with the wording in the staff summary would be, let's see here, giving sole rights to the courtyard, or 550 Brewing sole rights to the courtyard. I just wanted to make sure if that doesn't conflict with any other tenants, or if we even have any other tenants that use the courtyard. And I seriously doubt they'll be kicked out of the courtyard. So I just wanted to see how that works. I just wanted more elaboration on that.
Yeah, and I'll kind of step back and explain why we're at to this point right now.
Okay.
So 550 submitted their application to alcohol and gaming, and they came back and said that they can no longer have alcohol, beer, and wine in the courtyard unless they have sole rights. Basically, they're monitoring the area.
Right.
So that's where we came to the point, well, what do we do? What do we figure out? So it does limit the city in terms of what we had future plans. If we wanted to have the farmer's market, or we wanted to have any other tenants to utilize the courtyard, well, unfortunately, it's going to be in control of 550. So to your point, yes, if we had other tenants that said, we want to use the courtyard for whatever reason, well, now they don't have that opportunity unless they go through 550. And so hence, we're now going to, if we're going to go forward with this, we looked at the possibility of increasing the rent for that space. And that was put forward in the staff summary.
Okay. And that's where the $250 per month extra
Correct.
on top of what they're paying now. Okay.
And at this time, there aren't any other tenants.
Correct.
You know, so, am I right in assuming that that is kind of some of the thinking process that went into this decision to allow them to have, kind of full, custody and control, so to speak, of the courtyard, because there aren't any other hub tenants right now because of the need for renovations and moving forward, et cetera, but we still want them to be able to use the space for events and things like that, and because we had to.
That was considered to some extent, but primarily I think where we were a little disappointed with this is that we had future plans for the courtyard. The city did. We wanted to open it up. We wanted to utilize the area for, let's say, the courtyard to be used as an incubation for food trucks. Well, because of this situation, that gets taken off the table. So we did have some heartache with that. But unfortunately, for 550, we do see that a lot of their business is generated from the courtyard. People do like to be out there based on the atmosphere and the aesthetics of it. And so we had to grapple with that, and we came to the decision, the compromise, that if we are going to give it up, well, then we're going to have this in higher rent in lieu of such.
And just from my own perspective, I think it's been a good partnership with 550, and they're actually, one of the businesses that are doing what we were hoping at the, at the outset of the hub. It might be a little bit less traditional way than we thought it was going to go, but they're actually getting ready to, open up a spot on Main Street. So, I think the intent, even though it may not have been, come about in a little bit more of a roundabout way than what we had originally intended when the hub was started, but it's still, the end of the day, the results are what matters. In this case, I think, and I think it's working out fairly well. And I, I go by there and I see folks out there all the time. So, just one of those compromise situations, I guess. But, anybody else have any input or questions?
No.
So can we just do a...
Just do a motion.
Yeah, we can just do a motion and do a voice vote on that? Okay? Okay. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Saavedra?
No.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay. We'll close discussion on that, and I would entertain a motion for item K on the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to move to approve the amended lease agreement with the 550 Brewing Company, LLC.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And item M. So I'm going to put my glass back on. Okay. The resolution 2018-1094 to place question on ballot of election for Sunday sales of alcoholic beverages.
Yes.
So open it up for that. We'll open that up for discussion.
Yes, sir. And I was just pulling it. I just didn't know if there was more. I guess just need more clarification on the fiscal impacts. It just says costs would vary based on county fees for an election. I just didn't know, is this just getting us started on it, or would this be a special election, or are we just throwing this out there to put on the next election that comes up, or what's the future of this?
That's a great question, and we're still waiting on a little guidance, but from what I understand, it's, and I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm mistaken on this, because there's been so much discussion on this particular item since, before the election and things like that, confusion. I've personally made phone calls to Alcohol and Gaming to ask for clarification. I know other city staff members have asked for clarification, and we got that, but now there's a change in the way we hold local elections. So they're being kind of kicked up to the county level, and we found that out as we were as the city staff and the city manager were in the midst of putting this on the agenda, and we considered removing it. And we discussed it a little bit and decided to leave it on, only for the fact that even if we were to approve it tonight and say, we want this question to be placed on a ballot, it's going to be different from the way it was a couple weeks ago, for example, that we would then decide, when to hold the special election. There's time frames that you have to be before or after a general election kind of thing. So we would have to get the timing right for that. But now that it's gone to the county, we decided to just leave it there. So if the county commission does have to take this up and decide to hold the election for us or in our stead, we already kind of are on the record saying that we do or don't, resolve to hold Sunday alcohol sales by the drink. And for those that may or may not be familiar, it's just an opportunity to go and buy a drink, to literally go like you can anywhere else, just about anywhere else in the county. If you wanted to go to Farmington and watch a Broncos game or a World Cup match or something on a Sunday, you could go to BW3's or Applebee's or wherever and have a beer or a cocktail if you so desire. We don't have that option here, and this is just giving us an option, maybe not for today, because we don't have, 550 falls under a completely different set of rules, so they can serve beer on Sundays. But Rubio's, the old Highway Grill couldn't, but we, going forward, as an economic development item, we're hoping that we'll be able to do this. So when businesses do start to beat our door down and want to put up in restaurants and cafes, et cetera, that we'll be positioned to be able to do this. So this is just kind of a precursory kind of thing to kind of get on the record with the county as we move forward and they decide how they're going to hold this election. So I don't know if that...
So, no, that's correct. And the short answer, Commissioner Randall, your question, yes, it's the start of the process. And Carla has been communicating with Secretary of State's office and all that good stuff to make sure that we are doing the ballot question and the process in the right way.
I just want to make sure this wasn't holding us to a special election. This is just opening it up for, in the future, putting it on the next, like it says in the resolution, the next foreseeable
Yeah,
election.
hopefully, yeah.
We hope so, because special elections are very costly. So we're hoping that it can be combined with something else.
$3,000, 3 to 5. It's already been budgeted.
On the ballot in November with the general election.
Yeah, that's still, there's still some talk, but either way, and this does not, obviously, whether the county was running our elections or whether our city clerk was still running our local elections, this would not make the decision to say, hey, we're going to sell beers on Sunday. This would give us permission to hold the election for the citizens and voters of the city of Aztec to decide. So I just want to be careful and make that clear so nobody thinks that we're actually deciding for the city that we're going to have this. It would be put up to the voters to decide. But at any rate, if there's no other comments or questions, I'm going to close the discussion and entertain a motion for item M on the consent agenda.
Mayor, move to approve Resolution 2018-1094 for question to be placed on ballot of election. Shall Sunday sales of alcoholic beverages by the drink for consumption on the licensed premises of licensees be allowed in the municipality of Aztec, New Mexico? Question mark.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Let's see. Next item on the agenda is citizens input. There's a 3-minute max. Citizens who wish to speak will sign up prior to the meeting. This is for items not otherwise listed on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, as they're bringing the list up, you just might remind, since we have so many new faces here tonight, you just might remind them that we don't respond
Yeah,
to citizens input.
and this isn't, we had some folks 2 meetings ago, I think it was about their boat parking or something like that, and they did do a public comment, and I think they're a little unsettled or confused because they were expecting a little bit of feedback or confirmation, and it's protocol that we just allow citizens to speak. They have 3 minutes, and so long as it's not an item, an agenda item from tonight, that's your right as a citizen.
If it's something, we could try to direct them after the meeting or something, but.
Right, yeah, and if there's stuff, like my neighbor's dog is digging holes in my lawn or something, the city manager can direct that to the appropriate department and we'll move forward from there. So it's not that we're not listening or wanting to give feedback, it's just one of those things. So, because we don't want it to turn into a shouting match or whatever. Okay, so our first citizen input is Mr. Leonard Tillman.
Hi, everybody.
Mr.
My name is
Tillman.
Leonard Tillman, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm here to address something that I heard a couple of weeks ago at a council meeting where Mr. Colby King said that the mayor went into his business and tried to get him terminated and made some calls trying to do that. Well, I was looking at the Daily Times and kind of going over stuff he said, and he said he didn't go into the office to get him fired, and he did contact his employee. But because of differing because it was over the different expressions over social media. But he did say that he was the mayor and he was used to receiving negative feedback and expected some critical comments, which I understand. But in one of his personal posts that he sent, that a friend of mine sent to me, he said, after saying he was used to negative comments, he said, guys are going to take cheap shots and hide behind the scenes. Well, I'm not hiding behind the screen. I'm out here in front of you. And he said, honestly, I admit that, that it hurt my feelings, it makes me angry, well, either it makes you angry or you're used to it. I mean, I don't understand the conflict in the statements. And then he talked to the Talon, and he denied both allegations. He said he did phone the regional director and express his dismay with the employee's behavior on social media and voiced that this is a reflection of his character and the company that he works for. And he also stated that he was the mayor but not using it for a position of influence. If you call someone's employer and tell them that their employee is a negative reflection of the company, that's about as close to asking for their job as you can get. You know, it just doesn't ring true. And I thought, well, maybe it's a one-time deal. And, you know, had you come to the paper and said, you know, I'm new to mayor and I got thin skin and maybe I overreacted, I shouldn't have called him, I'll call his employer and make up for it or something, I'd have probably let it go. But I think that's ridiculous that the mayor's trying to cost people jobs in this town. And then I posted something on Facebook, and a local person in town said that the mayor, I'll quote it, his wife chased one of our drivers all the way across town because he made an illegal U-turn, in her opinion, and she identified herself as the mayor's wife. And then he comes into Pizza Hut and wants us closed down because the driver called her a crazy bad name. I wouldn't be happy about that either. But it keeps going on and on. So, you know, and then I heard that at a Rotary meeting, he was, you know, kind of talking about the A&W losing income for the city for a week. And I understand they've got to close, they got to renovate, that's how they generate cash flow. But I didn't hear him concerned about how the mom of two that can't feed her children is going to respond. You know, did the city try to find a way to give them some groceries or help them with the electric bill, because they're out of work too when the A&W is closed? I'd rather have a mayor that's concerned about the citizens, maybe trying to keep their job, maybe try to help a needy family, not try to cost people their jobs. If you ever at any time try to get someone fired from your position, you should resign. Make Aztec great again.
Your 3 minutes is up. Thank you, sir. Next on the list is Robin Kelly. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, and my friends and fellow Aztec people. The first thing I'd like to comment on is I think that the last person that was up here, you have to put what he said into context, and I don't think it was placed in context. My name is Robin Kelly, and I'm a longtime resident of San Juan County, and I've lived here since 1978 and in Aztec since 2002. I'm an active member of the community, and I'm shocked at the lack of civility towards our public servants. In 2002, I was elected to serve on the board for the Lower Animas Community Ditch, which is the ditch that runs through the city of Aztec. I served thinking it would be a 2-year stint. I stayed on the board for 9 years, not because I have a love of spending my spare time in meetings, reading and interpreting state statutes, enforcing the laws, and suffering the verbal abuse of anyone who disagreed with our policies, but because no one else stepped up to replace me. After reading comments on Facebook about our mayor, I felt compelled to attend this meeting. Mayor Snover served active duty for 22 years in the Navy, where he was deployed 4 times, including the Desert Shield and Desert Storm conflicts in 1991. He's taught at the ROTC program in public schools for 7 years. He survived the Aztec shootings at Aztec High School as one of the adults on campus making decisions to keep the students safe. He owns 2 houses in the city of Aztec. He's in a happy and committed marriage for 19 years. He has successfully raised 4 children to adulthood and is currently an active grandfather. Victor Snover is now a public servant who is voted into office by the voters of the city of Aztec as a commissioner in his district. Then voted into office as the mayor of Aztec by the 5 commissioners who act as a proxy to the constituents of the city of Aztec. A motion was put before the commissioners to appoint Victor Snover as the mayor, and he won 3-2. Being a public servant is a sacrifice. Less time for your family, your jobs, and your hobbies. The job of the city commission is a difficult task. It's disruptive to the commissioners' families, jobs, and place in the community. We all live in Aztec because we love this area and we choose to live here. My hope is to encourage my fellow citizens to participate in the governing and engaging in civil discourse. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Okay, we have one more. Kathleen Browning, am I pronouncing that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Browning, thank you for coming.
Mr. Mayor, City Commission.
Good evening.
Thank you for listening to this. I read the article in the Daily Times a while back about the city attorney's comments about the Commission's decision to support June as LGBT Pride Month, and I was pretty disturbed and upset about that. And it's something that I've read and studied a lot about is the essence of, majority rule and minority rights. The essence of democracy is majority rule, the making of binding decisions by a vote of more than half of all persons who participate in an election. However, constitutional democracy in our time requires majority rule with minority rights. Thomas Jefferson expressed this concept of democracy in 1801 in his first inaugural address. He said, "All will bear in mind the sacred principle that though the will of the majority is in all cases to prevail, that will to be rightful must be reasonable, that the minority possess their equal rights, which equal law must protect, and to violate would be oppression." I have read some pretty ugly comments on social media, Daily Times website, about the city of Aztec supporting this proclamation when that's not how the majority feels. So I felt it was important to bring this about, that to highlight that majority rule is limited in order to protect minority rights, because if it were unchecked, it probably would be used to oppress persons holding unpopular views, and to remind that unlimited majority rule in a democracy is potentially just as despotic as the unchecked rule of an autocrat or an elitist minority political party. So by issuing a proclamation recognizing June as Pride Month, which stirred the city of Farmington to do the same, this commission moved to recognize the rights of the majority against minority rule, thereby upholding Thomas Jefferson's sacred concept of democracy. So I applaud you, Mayor and Commission, for doing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That is all we have for citizen input tonight. Thank you, everybody, for coming and expressing your opinions and views. Next on the agenda is business items. Item A is intent to adopt ordinance 2018-480, amending Chapter 16, Article 7, Municipal Motor Vehicle Operation Fees.
Mr. Mayor, that's basically what we talked about in the workshop tonight.
Right.
And I'm sure Delane will answer any questions you might have, or I'll do my best if y'all have any further questions.
Open it up to questions. Does anybody have any questions regarding item A on the business item agenda?
No.
Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor. Oh, go ahead.
There you go.
I'd like to move to approve the intent to adopt ordinance 2018-480, an ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 7, Municipal Motor Vehicle Operations.
Second. We have a motion and a second for item A. Carla, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Snover.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fry.
Aye.
Commissioner Syke.
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis.
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Randall. Motion passes.
Thank you. Next is item B. Intent to adopt ordinance 2018-481, amending Chapter 16, Article 9, Community Development Fees.
Mr. Mayor, once again, that's what we discussed in the workshop, and we'll stand for questions if you have anything further.
Hearing no questions, I would entertain a motion for item B, please.
Mayor, I move to approve the intent to adopt ordinance 2018-481, an ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 9, Land Use Fees.
I second.
We have a motion and a second for item B. Carla, please call the roll.
Mayor Snover.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fry.
Aye.
Commissioner Syke.
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis.
Aye.
Commissioner Randall.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Let's go right into C. Item C, Resolution 2018-1093 FY19 Annual Budget Adoption.
I'm deferring to the one that handles numbers so eloquently, Ms. Kathy
I
Lamb.
figured you'd have this one handled.
No, ma'am.
You should have an updated staff summary in front of you. This one's been updated a couple of times with changes. Under state statute, we're required to adopt the annual budget by resolution and to submit to the state by July 31st. And so this is our last meeting for the month, and so this is the action. We've held preliminary workshops on the budget on May 17th and the 22nd. The preliminary budget was adopted on May 22nd, and the state provided interim approval on June 13th. With the final budget, we go back through and do a review of the estimates that were included in the preliminary budget. There may be some adjustments to revenues. There may be adjustments. Most often there are adjustments to expenditures. We've estimated projects would be this percentage complete or completed by the end of June. When we get to that point, we didn't quite make it, requiring those projects to be reappropriated then to the following year. Also with the state, they have changed how our budget is submitted and requiring more detail than they've had in the past. So, and we've also changed budget analysis. And so they're looking at it differently. And during that review and in conversations, the way that we had handled our general fund administrative fee, which is a reimbursement from the joint utility back to general fund, had been handled as a reduction of expenditures in general fund. Under the new model, it can't be handled that way. It has to be recognized as revenue in the general fund. And so that meant shifting, changing, increasing the expenditures that had been reduced by that general fund admin fee and increasing the revenue. Still a net zero, but it's just the way the budget has to be submitted now. Also, we were handling a few of the grants within general fund. DFA is really discouraging this activity and has directed that we create a special revenue fund for all of those grants that are handled in the general fund. And so that's a part of the adjustment that you're seeing. Again, the impact to the budget is a net zero impact. We're moving it from this fund, general fund, over to a new fund. There had been concerns with the new budget module that they wouldn't allow us to make any adjustments, and we were going to have to wait until after the budget was adjusted. Everything that's included on the staff summary, with the exception of the discussion last night, has been passed by DFA, so if these adjustments are approved, the state will allow them to be adjusted. The last item, the last amendment to the staff summary, is based on the discussion last night with the school district in specific to the SRO officer up at the high school. The additional costs based on chief's recommendation, which would be overtime to staff that position with existing officers, paying them an overtime rate, would be an increase to our budget of a little bit over $61,000. If commission wants to move forward with that, we need to amend the motion to add that to the budget. And that's, I've included that wording.
Yes, ma'am.
On what needs to happen with that. Items within the general fund, since we've talked about general fund so much, there are several items within the general fund that are budgeted but won't be expended without additional action by the commission at some point in the future. That includes $20,000 for Northwest New Mexico seniors. There's been discussion in how to help that program, but there is no agreement. So until something comes before commission and there's official action, that will sit in the budget. Same thing with the P&M issue. There's $25,000 in the budget specific to that. MPO, we've had a lot of discussion about bringing in a plan, how to make that a little bit more independent body. There's $10,000 in the budget. And then there's also a $50,000 economic development incentive that is the result of the O'Reilly's agreement. That is budgeted, but again, until there's official commission action on how to expend those funds specific to economic development, those will just remain in the budget. Questions? Comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Kathy, On the discussion last night, we did talk about if the school, if there was any way that they could help with the overtime rate.
Correct.
I didn't.
Because there's not an agreement in place.
Right.
We had that discussion amongst ourselves today as well. My purpose is to get something in the budget to be able to provide the officer.
Okay.
If there is an offsetting revenue as a result of the agreements to be brought to commission, then that would just lessen the impact to the general fund budget. But this would get funding into the budget for the police department to be able to provide that service to the schools.
So we'll have it if we need it, and if we don't need as much, then we'll budget it, and it'll just be like the other stuff.
Exactly.
You know, it'll sit there and stay in general fund.
Correct.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that that was still
being
discussed.
We're working on drafting those agreements.
Right. Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay. Thank you very much, Kathy. Okay. If there's no more questions, I will entertain a motion on item C.
Mayor, move to approve Resolution 2018-1093 FY19 annual budget adoption with the addition of $61,245 in general fund expenditures.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on item C. Carla, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Snover.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fry.
Aye.
Commissioner Stipe.
Aye.
Commissioner Randall.
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Next on business items is item D, FY19 funding applications. Kathy, I guess you're up again.
You covered this again very well.
Included in the budget that you just adopted is $50,000 for community support. This is at the discretion of the commission, how these funds are expended. When we go into the budget process, those that we know may have an interest in it, we provide them an application to then be presented to the commission. That application is on the website as well for anyone that during the course of the year may want to come to commission to request funds as well. Currently, we have 3 requests. Aztec Boys and Girls Club for $25,000. This is to help provide funding for their after-school programs and summer camp. Aztec Museum to provide funding for a museum director. Their minimum request is $25,000 with a maximum of $50,000. Aztec Ruins National Monument for their summer lecture series with a minimum request of $540 and $840. And specific to the ruins, what this funding provides is for those overnight speakers, it pays for the lodging for those speakers when they come in. All of these entities have received funding from the city in the past. The last year is identified in the staff summary, the level of funding. So what is required of commission is to make a determination as to the level of funding for each of those applications, with the understanding there's $50,000 that's available.
Okay.
And I'll touch on a little bit about, we're still in discussions with the museum about the move of the visitor center to Main Street. We've met with Dale, Ed Kotik and myself have met with Dale Anderson a couple of times, and we've got a draft agreement in place, and we expect to meet with the full board sometime within the next few weeks, probably.
Okay. Mayor Snower.
Yes, ma'am.
So we don't know right now how much they actually need in comparison to their request for $50,000. Because
Correct.
if there's a combination of, if we move the visitor center to Main Street, is there a possibility they won't need that funding?
Yes.
Okay.
The full funding, I think they requested $50,000.
A minimum of 25, a max of 50.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a chance that they won't need the funding that they have requested.
Right.
But we just don't know what amount
Right.
that we'll be able to.
So that's a problem
out
in
with.
us deciding what amount to provide for them at this time.
Correct. And this is at commission discretion. These are the amounts that have been requested by these entities, but it is commission discretion. You could appropriate something else. You could also table one or all, and we would bring it back at some point in the future.
How time sensitive are their needs or
for the Boys and
for
Girls Club,
applications?
it is very time sensitive. For the Aztec ruins, we have a little bit that we're able to carry over from last year's that might cover them through the end of the summer. And I can't say for the museum.
Right.
We've advised all of the entities that this funding would not be available until the end of the summer, just simply because of how the budget process
Right.
runs with approval through the state.
Okay, so I got to be honest with you. I'm not prepared to have that final discussion and say, you know, so asking a little bit of advice from you. This is my first rodeo on this one. I would like to consider maybe workshopping it. I don't know if that's, you know, fairly common as far as, you know, being able to sit down and talk about how much we want to, you know, because I mean, actually the museum's asking for $50,000. If we say, yeah, we're going to give it to you, there's all our money, so no one
Right.
else is getting anything. You know, so I'm not prepared to make that decision. So,
Mr. Mayor, in the past, we have actually had the discussion right up here. A workshop's not a bad idea, but I don't know that we've ever
tabled it?
given, well, no, not tabled it, but given, I was looking for the right, like even the minimum request,
Right.
sometimes we have adjusted that just so that sometimes it leaves us, we can fund some of their request and then.
And then they could come back.
Well,
perhaps.
but to try to leave a little bit in there in case
Yeah.
there's other things that come up through the
Yeah.
year that might need, so, right, Austin, we've kind of, in the past, have left a little bit there, but I don't think there's anything wrong with having a workshop and being able to discuss
I mean,
what
and
we
I'm-
think
and I'm
those
not
numbers would be.
100% opposed. I'm just, you know,
Yeah,
Well, Mayor,
I'm
what I-
open to, you know, we can discuss it, and if we're kind of coming around, you know, we can go for it.
Well, it's because we know we've had the same requests for a while in the
Right.
budget information. And what I was going to propose, even, you know, since, you know, we're still in discussions with the museum anyways, is we can approve the other two in amounts that we see fit and then hold off, you know, and that still leaves whatever money we leave in there, possibly for the museum. What I was thinking about proposing, with the way things are going with the Aztec, well, all the Boys and Girls Clubs, you know, with the lack of funding and everything, in my opinion, I was going to move for, you know, giving them their full amount, and then also, you know, the ruins, it's $540 is their minimum request to help out with lodging for their, you know, lecture series, and then have the rest of it set back, which would be, you know, 24,000. I had it on my calculator, but
So they could
That we
always
can-
come back
correct.
and say, hey, you gave us, you know, $5,000 or $10,000, and we want to request more money throughout the fiscal year. Is that what
Correct,
or
they
another
could.
group could come in? It doesn't even
Right.
have to be these folks. It could be
Correct. And this
anybody.
is always at commission discretion,
Okay.
how they want to approach these.
So,
In last year's breakdown, Mr. Mayor is down.
yeah, I
below.
see that. I just don't want to, for example, say, if we were to say no to Aztec Rooms, for example, and then that would be it, you know, and they're done until next budget year. I just wanted to double check that they could always come back and resubmit, you know, their request.
They could.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Mayor,
Just-
why couldn't we approve Aztec Boys and Girls Club and the ruins and put the museum on hold until we
So
determine
we know a little
what's
bit
going to
more
happen?
about what
Yeah.
what direction we're
And
going to
just
go
leave
with
the
the
other
visitor
money
center
in there
and all that.
and then address that.
I like that
Does that
idea.
work?
Yeah, yeah. I feel. I personally. I'm not speaking for you all, but I personally feel better about that.
Mr. Mayor,
So-
one more question for Kathy. You mentioned the Northwest New Mexico seniors. That amount was also included, I mean, it
It's a
hasn't
s-
been included. It would
it-
be separate because there's no formal request and,
There's a budget line item
that's right.
specific
Okay.
to it. It's not part of, It's not
Yes.
intended to be part of this
Right.
50,000.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I was clear
Right.
on
It's
that.
a separate line item.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, so we wouldn't be already out of money before we.
True. Yes.
Okay,
Right, okay.
just wanted to make sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, that
So I'm good, I mean,
helps
I'm
me a
good
lot.
with,
That clears up
I'm
a
good
lot of
with
questions.
doing the two and then waiting for the further discussion on the museum.
I am
think
too.
that's a good idea.
Does anybody have any more questions for Kathy? Thank you very much.
Right.
I appreciate
Thank
it. Again? Okay, so, yeah, I am comfortable with that. I don't know what you guys think. If somebody
am
wants
too.
to make a motion.
I'll tackle it if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead.
You guys correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
that's
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to approve the funding to the Aztec ruins in the amount of $540, and to the Aztec Boys and Girls Club in the amount of $25,000, and to table the funding for the Aztec Museum pending further discussion on that. Does that
Second.
cover it?
Does that work,
Okay.
Carla? Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Carla, please call the roll.
You don't have to.
Oh, we don't have to call the roll on that? Okay. Okay. So do we just do I just thought because it was a business item, we had to call the roll on that one. Okay. So I guess all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Sorry about that. Thank you. All right. Next up is our city manager, commissioners, attorney reports. I guess we can start.
No, we
No,
have,
we've
we
got
have
license
hearings.
hearings.
We've got,
I'm sorry, it was out of order on the agenda. I apologize. So our next is our liquor, is it just mine that it's out of order?
No, it is out of order.
Okay, all right, my mistake.
oh,
Making a lot of them tonight. So next we're going to move into a liquor license hearing. First is 550 Brewing Company LLC, DBA 550 Brewing Company, 119 East Chuska, new liquor license.
So we need to,
No, it's
We've
not a
got bus-
quasi.
We've got business items.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
what we're-
Mayor, Commissioners, before you is a liquor license hearing for 550 Brewing Company LLC. Their intent is to move their master's brewer license to 119 North Main. And one of the conditions in doing that is it's within 300 feet of two churches. And a state requirement through state statute is that they must have a waiver from the local governing body before that can be granted. And that's part of their process and the preliminary approval from the state is it comes to the city commission for the waiver process. And I also want to present to you some additional evidence or facts that we have. In your packet, we had a letter from the Methodist Church in support. They also sent us, Mike Pascal sent us today in an email that he has a letter from the Aztec Presbyterian support and also support, sorry, and that's for you too.
thank you.
So that is both churches that are within 283 feet and one is 245 feet from 119 North Main. Both churches are in support of that, and I've had no other comments or anything up to this point. And I have any questions if
Okay.
you
Not
need.
necessarily in support, they just do not oppose.
Right,
Yeah, no,
true, true, yeah. They.
Okay, we can open it up for questions or discussion.
And the applicant is here as well, Mike, if they have any questions for him as either, so.
Okay. I don't personally have any questions. I don't know about.
I just have a question for Delane. So, how does this work? Is it going to be a separate license than what's at 550 right now?
Yes.
It's still 550.
Yes, what happens with the brewers is there's a small brewer's master's license. That's the brewing part of the beer.
Okay.
And then right now it's in the county, and right now they're wanting to move it to 119 North Main.
Okay.
The one at the hub is called an off-site brewer's license.
okay.
So a brewer is allowed to have off-site licenses off the premise of the master brewer. And that will be coming in the future. But this one's just for the master brewer license.
Okay, to do it at the location.
at the
on Main
location at
Street.
118 North
Right
Main.
now, it's done somewhere else, and they bring it to 550, or
Right.
to the hub.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah, so that,
Okay, I was
that
curious.
license, yeah, and it's being transferred, a new license to Aztec.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, you have to apply for a new license, you can't move it.
Yeah,
Right.
you have to
Okay.
move for a new
Start a
license.
new
So you
one.
can't transfer it, you have to start the process over for the new
Correct.
location.
Hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Which is what we're doing here.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Okay. I'd entertain a moment, or a moment, I'm sorry. I'd entertain a motion on item A under liquor license hearing.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
make a motion, we move to approve the new small brewers liquor license for 550 Brewing Company LLC located at 119 North Main Avenue in Aztec.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Carla, please call the roll.
Mayor Snover,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Guy,
Aye.
Commissioner Sight,
Aye.
Commissioner Randall,
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis,
Aye.
motion passes 5-0.
Okay, our next item, Delane, I guess you're going to stay up here for this one. Item B, also under the liquor license hearing for Aztec Theater and Center for Music and Arts, Inc., 104 North Main, for a new liquor license.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, this is a liquor license. This is actually a little bit different than we've done in the past. This is a waiver because we've had request that a business is there, Aztec Theater and Center for Music and Arts. They are in the process of doing a club license. I have talked to the Deputy Director of the State for Alcohol and Gaming, and we can approve a waiver before the process starts through their preliminary approval to just kind of get ahead of the game because we already know something's going to be happening at that location, so we just want to move it up for time. This also would grant, because they are within 300 feet of a church, they have a letter in support from the Aztec Presbyterian Church. They are 20 feet from the Methodist Church, 280 feet from Presbyterian Church. This also would help if they did public celebration permits. So if they did not have their club license in time to do their events, this would also allow for other brewers and wine growers to come to that location and have a public celebration permit. That 300 waiver would not be an issue. The 300-foot waiver would not be an issue because we'd already have it in place. So,
We
and
can
that's-
open up for questions or discussion.
And the applicant is also here. And I just want to point out to her that she's tried, Tammy Kavaka's here, she's tried to have events at this and has been little success without the alcohol. So I just wanted to put that in here to speak for you unless you want to come up and speak, so, sorry. No, that's all.
Okay. All right. If there's no questions or
We didn't-
comments?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
No, yeah.
We didn't hear anything from I know there was something in here from the Presbyterian Church, but there was not, didn't get anything from the
I
Methodist
personally
Church?
did not hear from the Methodist
Okay.
Church. I think the applicant may have spoke. I can't speak on her behalf, but
I was just curious.
I
since-
do not have a letter from
Okay.
them.
Okay. But they didn't oppose it, so,
Right.
okay.
All
All
right.
right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we'll close the discussion. I would entertain a motion on item B under liquor license hearing, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to move to approve a waiver for a new liquor license for Aztec Theater and Center for Music and Arts Incorporated, located at 104 North Main Avenue, Aztec, New Mexico.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Carla, would you please call the roll? Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Guy,
Aye.
Commissioner Sight,
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis,
Aye.
Commissioner Randall,
Aye.
motion passes 5-0.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Delane. Okay, now, and I apologize for the mix-up, we are going to move into city manager, commissioners, and attorney reports. Mr. Mueller.
I attended the Council of Governments meeting this past week down in Grants. Good meeting. And that's about all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Commissioner Lewis?
Yes, actually, I was actually able to attend the tour of the Animus La Plata project last week, along with Commissioner Sipe. It was a great trip, and it's the first time I've actually seen the project completed. And after 20 years of watching it haggle and argue, it's great to see the thing all put together. And we actually were able to go underneath the dam and down into the workings, and very interesting. It's nice to know we have the water there, especially in these days when we're not getting a lot of rain. So it was a great time to go. And also, I wanted to say, I was at the National Night Out the other day, and it was impressive, the turnout from all the people in town. It was wonderful to see. Remind me of the days when we used to have other things going on that attracted all the town. I'd like to see more of that.
We just need to get Sherry to organize all those other ones too. We'll get some more. We'll get some more folks out there. Okay, Commissioner Randall.
I just wanted to say, I did notice the river, after we got some of that rain, looked like it was a little healthier, but I just don't know at what point. I just looking for some updates because I keep getting asked at what point do we come out of the stage 2? Is it going to be for the next couple months? I mean, is there any foreseeable point that we have to hit for Andrew to feel comfortable with where we're at?
Not really. We're kind of monitoring. Like today, we were at 209 CFS down from, I think at high point, maybe 230 last week. We know we're going to continue to drop some. What we're thinking maybe into mid to late August, depending on the rain amount and all that. What we don't want to do is have to start going between stage 1 and stage 2. So we're trying to remain consistent. Everybody is really kicking in and helping out and all that good stuff. So there's not a magic mark. We just continue to talk almost daily and monitoring the river level. So I hope that answers your question.
That does. I was just wanted to kind of put on the record that we are monitoring it.
Yes.
And for those that have questions on when, we'll let people know. But I agree, you can't come out of it and then go back into it. And
it'd be tough.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may respond to that a little bit too. When we were doing the tour of the ALP up in near Durango, the water looked like chocolate milk coming down the river, and it was full of ash and debris from the 416 fire. I think it's 416. And so it's difficult to divert, it's difficult to process that kind of water. So I think it's kind of I mean, it may be there, but it may not be optimal for us to use at this time. So.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioner Sipe.
A couple of things. I did really enjoy the tour. I had toured in 2008, I believe, when they were still in the process of building the dam, and so it was nice to see it all finished and it actually working and all the safeguards that they have in place and to protect not only the species that they need to protect, but also to protect the integrity of the water. They've just recently opened it up to recreation. And so, and on Mondays and Wednesdays is no wake day, no waves, no wakes. So it's mellow Mondays and wakeless Wednesdays is what they call it, so that the paddle boarders and the kayakers and stuff can use the lake. And Mark's right, we went up on top of the dam, and what a beautiful view. And right now the Red Lake Night Horse is completely full. We did ask how long if we had to request water from them, which is we have water rights to that. So through the San Juan Water Commission, they said it would take about 48 hours from the time they released it till it got down here. And then we also asked about how would they protect to make sure that we got our whatever we requested. And it was interesting that they said the Colorado Water Authority would monitor it to the Colorado state line, and then it would be up to the New Mexico Water Authority. But it sounded like that was still a little bit in the works. So, but it was interesting just to find out exactly how long, and if we request, I don't know, 1,200 acre feet, we wouldn't get 1,200 acre feet down here because of seepage and evaporation and all that stuff. But then when they shut it off, they said it kind of levels out, because once they shut that off after they released that much, there would still be some coming down the river still. So we probably still wouldn't get all of 1,200 acre feet. But anyway, it was quite interesting to and what an elaborate pump system and all that stuff. But it was a great tour. I'm glad that I was able to do that. That evening when I came home from there, I met with some people, 2 board members from the Boys and Girls Club. One was from Farmington, one was from Aztec, and they shared with us, I think they've met with several other commissioners, just sharing with us moving forward. They're looking at combining all the Boys and Girls Clubs because the corporate Boys and Girls Club of America is actually requesting that, just so that they're not all, everybody individually trying to go out for these pools of money. It'll be a one organization, and so hopefully it'll help them all. So that's a good thing. But they did assure us that any money that comes from the city would stay with our Aztec Boys and Girls Club. So any funding that we do would stay within that. So that's a good thing. And they're in the process still of doing all that, but it was a good discussion. I attended the EDAB meeting. We did have a quorum again. That was awesome with our new board members. And Stephen brought up last time about the lights a little bit, about keeping the lighting in the trees. And that was discussed again. And I think Stephen's going to try to go to some of the business owners and see how they feel about it and how much they might be willing to contribute to having them in front of their businesses, and just that it would make Aztec look like it was alive and well all the time. So that was good. Sorry, one more thing. I just would like to say that I mentioned last time about proposing to do a presentation at the New Mexico Municipal League annual conference in the end of August, and I talked with Stephen and with City Manager Mueller about the project, and we decided that the Aztec Arterial would be the project to submit for that, and I'm happy to say that we were chosen.
Awesome.
We were one of 5 cities that's chosen to do a presentation. We'll have about 12 minutes because it's an hour. It's an hour-long thing, and there'll be 5 cities. Farmington is also presenting something, so we'll be working on getting that presentation together so that we can talk about our arterial and get our city out there, and so that'll be a good thing. So I was happy to see that we were accepted. So yeah, I'm not sure who's going to present yet.
Tag team, all 3 of us.
But it's a great, and that'll be actually the presentation will be on August 30th. So from 9 to 10 down in Roswell at the conference. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Fry?
I attended the Library Advisory Board last week, and Angela Watkins is serving as the interim director, and she reported on the ongoing activities of the library and working on customer service and hoping to improve the numbers at the library. They've fallen in the recent year, and she's hoping to get those numbers up. If you haven't visited the library, you ought to. We've got a great little library, and they are short of staff, so they have adjusted some of their programs because of short staff. But it's a great library. I attended the San Juan Safe Communities Initiative meeting, and Leadership San Juan did a presentation on a program they implemented last year called Grad Coaching. And because of the statistics regarding how many seniors actually graduate in San Juan County, they decided this would be a good effort to put out there. And Aztec was picked for their program last year, and they had 4 graduates that were considered at risk that did graduate, so they felt like the program was a success. They want it to continue, and if there are people who would like to volunteer to assist with that program, to coach these folks, give them motivation, take them to lunch, there are a variety of ways of helping them stay in school and get that final diploma. If you will contact me, I'll get you in touch with the right person to carry that program forward. I've gone to 3 meetings of FORCED, Four Corners Economic Development, and it's kind of their time to do their annual meetings, and I'm still in the learning process of all the things that are going on in economic development. And one of the things I found out at the first meeting was Sally Burbridge is now an employee on with that program, and I believe I was told that Sally actually helped in the formation of this group and has been working with them for Aztec for many years. And I look forward to meeting with Sally to catch up and get the big picture of economic development in the area. It seems like they're pretty active. They're working on everything, and Aztec is a part of that. Went to a geotourism meeting, and we had 6 Aztec people there, and a lot of it was technology focused. And I'm sure Ed took everything in because that isn't my expertise. And Will Ann was there, and our city manager and mayor. So we had a great group. It is geotourism is defined as tourism that sustains or enhances the geographical character of a place, its environment, culture, aesthetics, heritage, and the well-being of its residents. It is a way to tap into National Geographic marketing. It's not terribly expensive. Go by and see Will Ann at the Visitor Center. She'll show you the map of the Four Corners area that's associated with this National Geographic marketing. Or you can go on geotourism online and explore that, and we're participating in that. So a very good thing for increased tourism. I too met with Boys and Girls Club folks that explained, as Commissioner Sipes mentioned, that I think this is going to be a very good thing for the club to be more efficient, share resources, share administrative cost, and not be so strapped for funding. The board members were very enthusiastic about this. I was impressed with them. So I think that's going to be a good thing. And I, too, enjoyed family night out in Aztec at the park, and thank all those who participated and made that happen. Everybody was having a great time. I didn't get a hot dog.
Oh, darn. We sure served a lot of them. I think I saw hot dogs in my sleep that night, right, Carla?
We have one in the freezer somewhere.
And you guys cooking them, yeah.
All right.
Commissioner Fry, just a quick question. Is that the Kids at Risk, is that different than the mentor program I read something about on the Aztec schools? They were talking about a training. Is that different?
This seemed very specific that,
Okay.
you know, every year San Juan Leadership takes on a project.
Right.
And so they
Okay.
called it grad coaching.
Okay.
And
So it's a little different.
Yeah.
I read an email that they were, through the Aztec schools, that they were looking for people to do mentors.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know if it was part of the same program.
I didn't hear mentoring
Okay.
mentioned in their
Okay.
program.
Thank you. Yeah. I was just curious. Thank you.
All right. I'll keep mine very brief. I just want to kind of pile on to the National Night Out thing. I've heard of the National Night Out. I've never been to one. And I was just blown away by this. I mean, it was like going to a rock festival, you know, where you were kind of, kind of pushing through people, bumping into folks. There was booths, from pretty much from the start of Minium Park all the way down to the end. And it was really cool, and every 30 seconds you get beeped because you had to get out of the way of the train with the little buckets on there, and the kids with their face painting, and the hot dogs. I didn't get one either because the line was too long. There was water out there. There was giveaways. I mean, this has been going on nationwide, and from what I read a little bit, worldwide for 35 years, and 16 years here in Aztec itself. And I echo the sentiment that we could do well to figure out a way to get some, not exact events, but similar type of community events kind of spearheaded. And if we could be, heck, 25% as successful, I think it would be a huge night for us. But I just want to shout out to Ms. Garul. Did I say that right? Groulet, I apologize. And Chief, of course, and everybody else. I know there's tons of folks that did behind-the-scenes work that maybe didn't get public recognition, but I just want to say thank you so much. I had a great time. I had my grandson there, my daughter, my wife, friends were there. We had a great time. My niece was there, and I saw tons and tons of people. I think just about everybody in this room was probably out there. So it was great, and I had a wonderful time. So thank you again. I want to give myself a little plug, a little trepidation, but tomorrow is Meet Your Mayor at 5:50. So if we're going to have a beer, we'll have it near the end, But I do want to invite as many folks to come out there. We can discuss issues. We can keep it civil, keep the discourse civil and polite, or as polite as possible. It's okay to have differing opinions, but I'm happy to meet more people. I'm happy to discuss things. I'm happy to, hear ideas, whatever it may be. The first time it was here, there was only a few folks, 3 or 4 folks came. Last time it was a little bit more successful, about 14 or 15 folks came out. Maybe it was because it was at a cooler location than City Hall. But I invite folks to come out and spread the word, bring a friend, whatever. One more congratulations to Mr. Sly. He took off. He had enough of the city government stuff, but I want to thank him for coming and congratulate him one more time. I don't think he quite knows what he's getting himself into at Fort Benning in August, but he'll find out soon enough. He doesn't have a lot of weight to lose, so hopefully he'll bulk up a little bit carrying that 70-pound pack around. But congratulations to him, and I just want to give one quick shout out to the YCC kids that have been out there toiling away in this 100-degree heat. In the past, Mr. Slattery there from the park can attest to our YCC program through the school, through JROTC. It's hard work. It's very rewarding work. And the kids here in the city, and we have a small group that's working with the national YCC program again in the park this year. They're doing fantastic things and learning things like resume writing, skill, coming to work on time, supervising a group of kids, and realizing that it's much harder to get people to do what you want just because you tell them to. They're learning leadership skills, and they're getting paid, to save some money for, their first car or, whatever it may be. These kids are spending their money right here in town. They're not going to Santa Fe. They're spending their money at Dairy Queen and at Sonic and at A&W or wherever else, McDonald's, etc. One of the kids rode by and had a new BMX that he bought with money that he earned from YCC this year. So that goes into, our tax receipts as well. Helps a small business stay vibrant, and I think that's what we're all hoping for here as we move forward. So I just want to say thanks to those guys because it's tough, to get motivated to go out and work when it's as hot as it's been. So hats off to them, and hats off to everybody that was able to come out tonight. I really appreciate it. That's all I have. We are going to do department reports next. We don't have a city attorney right now, so we can move into department reports.
While they're going up there, let me just say thank you so much for all the kind words on National Night Out. Sherry does an absolutely fantastic job.
Yes, she does.
But also, we couldn't do it without all the other department heads, all the other employees in the city. It's a big coming together that makes it happen. Kim's guy, were out all day helping set up the parks for us. The parks people were there painting lines and picking up trash. Of course, we had the wonderful face painting, and we can't do it alone. And it was a wonderful thing, and we thank you for your support, allowing us to do this. And I will pass it on, but thank you very much. And I want to make sure all the other city employees know how much we appreciate what they did and saw. And Steve, I bet he cooked 2,000 hot dogs.
Next year, y'all got to come see the cook, and I'll hook you up.
We know somebody.
There was a lot of hot dogs. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Hey, Mr. George.
Hi. Last commission meeting, I told you that the city of Farmington's electric system was wanting to take an outage on the city of Aztec, and that I had a meeting with them the next day. We had that meeting. We discussed some times to a date. I was advised today that that date would not work for them, so it's going to get pushed off until the spring, probably March, April sometime. So once that gets worked out, I'll come back, advise commission, and then we'll get notification out to the public.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to say something short and sweet. Years ago, I came to this community by myself from Colorado, and it was just me and my older son, Jesse. But since then, I've had Max, and I just wanted to say that because I came on my own, I had no family, and I just appreciate that I was able to make this community my family, and also how proud I am to be a part of it. And I'm also proud to be a part of this city. And with that, I wanted to recognize a couple of people yesterday. Some of you know that my son is in the Air Force, and he just went to London not too long ago, a couple weeks. And he had a health crisis there yesterday. And I've been having a hard time with the whole thing anyway, and so I got to work and it kind of sunk in. So I called Steve because I needed someone to just talk to. And Sherilyn Morgan answered the phone, and of course she got the blunt of the first initial venting. And Steve was at a meeting, but some gestures are so big, they're bigger than words. And I appreciate when he got back from the meeting, he called, and by that time I kind of had it together. But I really appreciated that. I don't have family here, and so it's nice when you can reach out to your coworkers and people, your boss, and people in the community and get that kind of support. And I just wanted to let you know that 2,000 hot dogs is a long line, and you may not want face painting, but even though my line was long, it wasn't quite that long. So, you know, just a thought. But thank you again. And I just recently celebrated my 8 years here, and so once again, thank you.
Is Max okay?
Congratulations.
Is Max okay?
He is.
Okay.
He is.
Yeah.
We can talk about it later.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Saavedra?
Commission. So I just want to share, I also didn't get a hot dog either, because that line was so long.
You guys missed it. Do you?
I think that number's a little inflated, that 2,000.
That line was huge, so
not inflated.
I think it just goes to the success of the national
Apparently
night out.
Austin ate all of ours. He said he had 4.
So I just wanted to briefly update you with community development. So I want to recognize Andrew DeCamillo. He's our code officer. He's been out and about doing what traditionally code officers do, weeds, RVs, things of that nature. Boats. But he's also taking a different approach. And so we're working together on foreclosed houses. So this is an issue that we've had, especially within the downturn with the community, with the economy. When the house is foreclosed, unfortunately, it starts to make the neighborhood and the area look poor. So we've been stepping up the pressure because these foreclosed houses are owned by the banks that are in Denver, California, Colorado. Their interests are not the interest of Aztec. So we've been stepping up the pressure. We've been successful with a few to get individuals to clean out these houses, to make them presentable, and ultimately to put them back on the market. So just kind of wanted to briefly share what we're doing in addition to traditional code enforcement, also trying to take care of some of these houses that are just abandoned. Also want to touch base on EDAB and downtown. So it was just last month that City Commission adopted our MRA downtown plan. We've already seen some momentum with a few buildings being remodeled. There's some talk about a vacant building. Another business is looking at going in there and rehabbing that as well. So I think that's positive. I don't know if it's coincidence or a combination of the MRA plan. But also with downtown, Commissioner Sipe had briefly touched base about the downtown lights. So in the next month, I'll go to various buildings, various businesses. I'll try to go to everyone and basically canvass what's their thoughts. Do they like the idea of having Christmas lights, Edison light bulbs in downtown? And if so, is there a willingness to pay for that? And we'll just canvass. And we're not going to say, yes, we're going to charge you. We just want to see what their thoughts and what their ideas are. Because the concept and the thought that came out of EDAB, and really this is a low-hanging fruit, is when the lights go off, especially during the wintertime, 6 o'clock, downtown is dark. And we want to have it visible. We want to have it lit. And it's not just to make it aesthetically pleasing as you're passing by, but also for the shops that are in the area. So maybe you didn't know that there is an antique store here or a flower store here, but now that it's lit, you have more eyes on that. And it's also a safety issue as well. It's lit, you see what's going on, so there is that added benefit. So just want to touch base, update you a little bit on community development. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Just so you know, it's not Christmas lights like red and green, and
Right,
we're
right.
talking just the white.
kind of- yeah.
Just the white
Kind of
lights.
like you see at
Yeah, yeah,
restaurants and
twinkle lights, yeah.
patios and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely adds to the
Yes, it does.
ambiance. Okay, I think that's it. I don't see any other department heads. Kathy, you good for tonight? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, folks, we are not adjourning yet. However, we are going into closed session pursuant to state law, section 10-15-1H, in parentheses number 2, limited personnel matters, city manager appointment and employment agreement. So what we have to do now is ask everybody that's here in the crowd to vacate the room. You can wait outside because we will be holding a vote after this. So you're welcome to come back in if you want to hang out for a little bit. It's up to you.
Really want to hang
Yeah, if you really want to hang out.
Yeah, maybe there's hot dogs out there.
Yeah.